Alright, today I'm working on our 2014 Tiguan, and I'm changing, hopefully, what should be this gasket. I bought it quite some time ago at O'Reilly. It's located on the backside of the engine between the downpipe and the turbocharger. I'm also going to show you how to inspect the wastegate on the turbocharger, which is a common item to fail on a turbocharger. And then we're going to borescope the compressor section of the turbocharger to make sure there's no damage on the leading edges of the turbocharger compressor blades. So there's the part number 61458, and it's the turbocharger gasket. So I know it says 2005 to 2007. We will see if this fits. This is the one they gave me. So anyway, I am changing this gasket down here, and to get to it, you got to do it from the top and the bottom. So I took off this air duct that goes from here down to here, and all there is a clamp. Get the light on down here for you. There's a little clamp right here, and that holds it on. There's a bolt holding this little tab on. I took that out, and then there's one of these little spring clamps holding this to here. And then I've gone ahead and I've disconnected the O2 sensor. This thing was broke, retaining the cable. There's another one down here, and then the harness just comes out of this little connector right here. So I'm working on getting this O2 sensor out because it's kind of in my way. All right, so I've got to get, let's see, that bolt that I've got my mirror on, that one's coming out. All right, so there's that one that we've got to get to. Then there's another bolt way back there, and it's in line with, so I got the one that I've loosened up already. There's another one right back there. Right there. And I've got to get that one, but it's in line with this O2 sensor, so I'm taking the O2 sensor out. So what I've done is disconnected it like I was talking about, and then I've got a O2 sensor socket. And then what I did before off camera was I took a little bit of, it's one of my favorite penetrating oils, it's called mouse milk, and I put it inside this little pin, and you push this little button on the back of it, and then it springs a little thing out, and that gives you little drops of lubricant, and you can very finely place lubricant or penetrating oil right on a surface that you want. So I've put a little bit, it's tough to see in the video, but I put a little bit on the O2 sensor down there where you kind of see it wet now. So letting that sit for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna go ahead and work on this other upper bolt. Looks like I'll be able to get that lower bolt too from up top, and then I should have to get the fourth bolt from the bottom. So let's see how this goes. But I'll show putting it back together. Of all that air intake duct stuff, but so far it's fairly simple. All right, so getting the spark plug, this upper spark plug out was pretty easy. I broke it free off camera, but it broke free like extremely easily with that penetrating oil. All I did was let it sit for a few minutes. But all I have is a spark plug, or not spark plug, rather O2 sensor socket on here, and then a 3/8 drive to 1/2 inch drive adapter, and then a 1/2 inch drive breaker bar, and it broke free. I probably could have broke it free with my 3/8. Honestly, it came free really easily, so pleasantly surprised. So I'll spin this out of here and move on to the next thing. All right, I got the O2 sensor out. As you can see, that mouse milk worked its way down on the entire threads. This stuff is awesome. I really love it. Never seen it. This is what it looks like. You can buy this stuff on Amazon. There's a link in the description in the pinned comment below, as always. Oh, good stuff. All right, so we got the O2 sensor out of our way, and now I have a lot more room in here to get back. Get the camera situated a little better to that back bolt back here. back there where my flashlight's pointing at. And then I can actually get to that other one too, so go ahead and get them. While I got this open, I'm going to go ahead through that hole that my O2 sensor was in. I'm gonna go ahead and use my Borescope to Borescope the wastegate and just check the wastegate. So I'll show you that too. All right, so I'm working on that bottom bolt and I'm just using my wrench and a 17mm wrench to get down there to it. I was able to get the 17mm. I was able to get it also on this upper bolt as well. This one's kind of got a little bit of, the problem with it though is this boss for the, this boss right here. You've kind of got to either shave down your wrench and thin it out, or since it's right up against that, I used a socket. You just have a little more room. So there's actually room between it and it won't interfere. If you use the wrench, you back it out to a point, especially with a gear wrench, that you'll get the gear wrench stuck on there. So don't do that. That would be real bad. I can't even get the gear wrench. I can barely get it on there, but it would get to a point where it'd be pretty close to getting stuck on there. So be careful using the gear wrench if that's what you choose to use on that one. So back here in the back, when you work on this bolt back there, your ratchet, if you use a ratchet on it, it's gonna hit the catalytic converter. So you're not gonna get on it square and you have the potential of stripping out that bolt, and it's buried back there. I don't feel like taking this shroud off right here. You could take that off, get yourself a little more room. But I don't feel like taking that off, and I don't want to strip anything out. So I'm gonna use a wrench on that one. So I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so I've got my wrench in there. I wanted to show you this, how I've got it situated. The rest is on you. So plenty of clearance with the wrench in there to get everything you need. I've got plenty of room to give the wrench quite a bit of swing. Whoops, and then it falls off. So, but when I'm not holding the camera with my other hand, it's super easy. So I wanted to show you this too with the mirror. I can hold the mirror in one hand and see the other end of my wrench. It's a lot clearer in person than on this camera, but and I can just grab my wrench with the other hand and watch what I'm doing, so I know I'm not falling off of it. I'm staying square on it the whole time. All right, so I've got everything, or all three of these bolts out. Well, one of them's a nut down there, as you can see, the stud sticking out. Got that one out, and the one in the back out. Now the one in the back, there's not a lot of room back there, and when you get to the end, you've got not only a bolt but a washer as well on there, so just be careful. I got it backing out, and then I noticed it was starting to kind of turn a little bit, and that tells me it's on its last few threads. So I took the gear wrench off and then reached back there and just turned it with the tip of my fingers the rest of the way out, like maybe another turn or so, and then pulled it out. So that one's gonna be fun to get in and start, but just so you know, it's got a washer on it too. Don't drop both of those or you will have fun fishing those. So now I get to work on the bottom one that I can't even see it. So let's see if I can see it from here. Ooh, baby, that's, I can see it in my mirror. Oh, let's see if I can get the camera situated right so you can see it too. I think it might be an issue with the mirror, the way it reflects, but I can see it's clearly underneath it. Yeah, you can see it there, just past the stud there. Kind of make out the tip of it there. Oop, there it goes. It's another one with a nut on the bottom. So it's probably going to be easiest from below the car. All right, we got it up in the air. Interestingly enough, so I don't have the skid plate off. I'm just going up through the back here where the resonator I guess this is the second catalytic converter because it's got a O2 sensor behind it. But maybe that doesn't have a cat up there. Anyway, I don't care. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but I am sure that this was a 16 millimeter bolt down here. So I've got it on my busted heat shield that I've got a new one on order. But 16 millimeter, and I'm literally just getting in here with one hand and working at it slowly. So you can do it. Just gotta go slow. You're gonna need some gear wrenches for sure, or it's gonna take you forever. But you can see I'm starting to get movement between the exhaust and the turbo there. All right, or actually that would be the header, really. So, all right, I got it out of there, and to get it unscrewed, I put my hand up like this and then worked the nut like that. So, got the nut off. So now you can see I'm trying to move the exhaust over, and since the bottom has two studs, one there and then one that I just took the nut off of, you can't just slip the gasket in there. So I'm gonna end up probably taking these two bolts out here to be able to shove the exhaust over a little bit. There's a little room over here to shove the exhaust that way, and yeah, as you can see, I'm going to need at some point a new flex pipe, but it's not leaking, so one thing at a time. So I'll go ahead and take these two bolts out, and that should buy me enough room to get this gap all the way so that I can slip a new gasket on there. So I can see the split in the gasket right now. You could kind of see where they've been leaking. It's discolored right here. That's where I actually put my hand. I had it up in the air like this, and I put my hand on it, and you could feel, if you just got your hand just close. Obviously I wasn't putting it right against it, and I was wearing gloves, so I didn't burn myself, but you could feel the heat coming off of it and the leak from it. So that's how I detected this leak. All right, so these two bolts are 13 millimeter. And if you don't have a creeper, you ought to get yourself one if you're laying under your car. It's something that I put off, and then I finally purchased it and was like, why didn't I buy this a long time ago? All right. So I had wrenches, so that's what I'm going with. Should give us enough clearance. I'm gonna work these free and we'll come back. All right, so I got those two bolts out, and like I said, they were 13 millimeter. Now you can see I've got it moving. I should have enough room to get the gasket in and out of there. Now we'll see. Man, it's just a tight squeeze up in here. Oh, there we go. You can see the old one now. All right. Well, unfortunately, this might be something I have to do off camera just because I can't do this one-handed. I've got to get one hand on the exhaust to move it around and articulate it to get this gasket out, and then the other hand fishing the gasket in and out. So I'm probably going to end up taking my one hand and maybe putting it over here so that I can shove that part of the exhaust over just a little more if I can. And you got to be careful. This thing will cut the ever-living crud out of you. It's got all kinds of stuff sticking up, so it's a good thing I'm wearing these. But anyway, I'll show you how I got it when I get it off. All right, so it was a lot easier than I thought it would be. What I ended up doing was just taking my hand and pushing over here, and if you push it just right, it will sit just like this, to where there's a gap closer to it. There's a good gap on that one, and then there's a real good gap on the bottom one. It's a pain to get to, but plenty of gap in here. Now I can inspect for any corrosion or anything from that leak. You wouldn't want a leak like this to go for too long, because it could start eating away at your exhaust here, or even the manifold. The manifold probably less apt to eat away at, but the exhaust pretty possible. So Don't let one of these leaks go for too long. This is really, I thought this was going to be a huge pain, so I've been kind of putting it off, and I should have done it a while ago, because I've done plenty of other jobs that took a lot longer than this. I'm probably, I don't know, a couple hours in, and I even even went ahead and started preparing the under the rear section for winter, and put on a PV surface shield. So I mean, I've been doing other stuff too, so don't put this off. That's what I'm getting at. Here's the old gasket. So the old gasket looks like it's split right there. Go zoom in on it. Yep, you can see the split right there. So that's it. That was all that was causing it, is it split. This looks kind of like the gasket I got up there. Let's go check. I really should have paid attention to how it came off, because it's going to be fun to put it in. It's only going to go one way. So this gasket is mutilated from the pressure of the turbo, and that thing's been like pushing it apart, I guess. I don't know. The shape to it is wild. So I'm gonna have to get online and just double check that VW doesn't have some really bizarre, because this would be circular. That's kind of what you're expecting, but this is not circular at all. It's probably just a beat up gasket. So the hole pattern does appear to fairly closely match. It's kind of hard to tell since this is so deformed. So it is a double piece gasket. I don't know if you can tell there. There's two pieces to it, so it's a sandwich gasket. And you can tell, there's a good spot on this one, still in the packaging, but you can tell it's got a sandwich gasket too. So pretty sure this is it. Like I said, it's only gonna go on one way. So when you take it off, maybe, I don't know, see if you can get a Sharpie in there and mark it somehow so you know exactly which one's which. But I can tell because this was on the bottom, so I think, well, it's going to depend on which way it was, whether it goes this way or that way. So it's going to be a 50-50 shot for me, but you might want to mark it. All right, well, I got this apart. I might as well show you the wastegate. So, wastegate, crawl up here slowly. I'm getting too old for this. Reach through the back. All right, so that little thing right there is your wastegate. So it should be tight. Grabbing it and trying to move it, this little puck on the top. Let me get the camera in there a little closer maybe. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but that little puck will actually move around. Think of it as like a woodwind, or a wood, not a wood instrument, what am I trying to say? Yeah, woodwind instrument. Or like think of it as like a clarinet, the little stoppers that come down and shut off airflow. That's kind of what this does, except it's not making sounds, musical sounds. It's dumping boost pressure that's coming out of the exhaust manifold into the downpipe and sending it out the exhaust in lieu of sending it through the turbo. Right here is your turbo. Sending it through the turbo to build up turbo, to build up boost. So that bleeds off some of the exhaust pressure so it doesn't build up boost. And if this leaks, and it'll chatter. Right now, I can't even get mine to move, so I know it's good. But a bad one, you'll be able to move that around. Just look for some YouTube videos of a bad one, and you'll definitely find some bad ones, some bad examples out there. But wastegate's good on mine. I gotta inspect the downpipe and the exhaust for some corrosion or anything like that before I start putting it back together. And I'm looking for my flashlight, and silly me, I've got it propped over here. So I'm gonna inspect that real quick and I'll show you what I look for. All right, so before I wipe everything away, I wanna show you exactly what it looks like, if I can get it on video. So you kind of see this coloration. I can't tell if that's got any, that's the bottom where it was seeping out air pressure. So I can't tell if it's corroded or not. Just looking through the video, or I'm gonna actually rub my finger along that surface. As you can see, there's all kinds of discoloration and everything from the exhaust. It was actually, these bolts were a little loose, so the whole thing was kind of losing boost pressure. So this thing will probably get up and go a little more after I'm done. So the best thing to use on something like this is some isopropyl alcohol. I'm just gonna take the alcohol. I've already wiped it with my finger, but I'm just gonna take this literally and just wipe the surface. You don't want to leave any like soapy water. Could leave some of that stuff behind. Could become a problem. So you don't want to leave anything behind. Okay. So the clean side on this side. It could leave some of the residue behind. I don't want to leave any soap residue. Okay. Kind of looks like, let's see if I can focus it. Kind of looks like a problem down at the bottom, but I can feel my finger. I'm running my finger over the surface like this, and I can feel there's no pits or anything like that to be concerned of. So it's really tough to get the video in there to really see a good clear picture of what I'm looking at here. See if I can get it from the bottom. All right, so laid across the engine, and the best view I can get is laying down, but I don't see any pitting on either surface. And that's what I was worried about, was corrosion from those exhaust gaskets, gases getting out. And I don't see any. So I've looked it all over. Now it's time to slap that gasket in there. All right, I got the exhaust gasket temporarily kind of installed just to make sure I got it all lined up properly. So let's see if I can get a little more light in the situation here. So I've gone ahead and put these two bolts in just to make sure that all the bolt pattern lines up. I've ran my hand, and awesome. I've ran my hand around here just to feel that the exhaust gasket is following the opening, and it is. So what I'm talking about is this. I'm running my finger around here, and I can feel the manifold sits maybe here, the edge of it, and then it goes in the pipe. So this would be in the pipe. So I can kind of feel, a little bit of, if this were the exhaust, I can feel a little bit of the material right here, and that's what you want. You don't want a situation where you can't feel the material next to the gasket here, like this, where it's hanging off, because then it would be a sign that it's not in there right. So I've gone ahead and felt all the way around. Boy, I think my flashlight went all the way through. I've gone ahead and felt all the way around, and I'm confident I got it on there correctly. I'm going to take these bolts back out, and then we're going to shove the exhaust back against it. So, and then just putting that bracket back on down there, it should keep it up against it. All right, before I take those bolts off, it's just easier to see from down here for me and probably you. I've just gone ahead and checked that the thing fit all the way around, and I know it's shoved out on that top. Let's see if I can get that to go lay back down. Ish. The rest of it pops out. So these gaskets are kind of, you want them to be springy so that they make a good seal. So, but the whole pattern lines up, and the center hole where it's actually sealing lines up. So that's the important part. So we're gonna go ahead and take those two bolts out up top and put her back together. All right, I don't have my gloves on. I'm gonna try and just fit this up here. And maybe I have to go get my gloves on to get that bottom piece in. I can go ahead and get these put on down here. But I'd really like to get this started. Oh, look at that. Just reach up there and slide it on, and it'll slide right back together. All right, just double check. The gasket's still in between. All right, well, my video stopped because I bumped the wrong button. But anyway, I just want to make sure the gasket is still in between it, especially the bottom there. So it's tough to see. Just have to get my camera in here for you. Stuff in a little hole. It's looking good now. It's on there. So I'm going to go ahead and start the top 2 bolts. I'll start these 2 down here too. And I'm going to leave everything just started at first. And I can't forget, I've got to use some NIC's compound for the bolts, the 4 bolts up on the manifold. So I'll show you what I'm going to use on that because I use a special kind. All right, so we're up top. This is what I like to use, copper-based NICs. It's good to like, what, seizure up to 1800 degrees, so it's like way overkill. But I've pulled stuff off 10, 15 years after putting it on, with that stuff still on the threads and it coming apart real easy. So this had some type of NICs of some sort because these came out very easily. I don't know what they used, but it's what I'm going to coat them with. This stuff is every mechanic's friend and arch enemy. It gets everywhere, so just know that. I usually go ahead and get it on there and then go ahead and get them hand started and then go wash my hands because this stuff just gets everywhere, everything you touch. So this stuff's just called C5A. It's known as Loctite C5A. That's what I've always known it as. So it is a copper color. Let's open the bottle up for you. It kind of looks like mud. It's pretty gross stuff. So, and it gets everywhere. Anyway, all right, so I went ahead and coated one up. That's all you really need to put on. You don't need to go crazy with this stuff. It goes a long way. A little bit will spread, I promise you. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this bottle out of my way and then reach back here and put the first one in right there. Okay, that's started, and then I'll get the second one. So the second one is identical to that. And this cap has a brush on it when you pull it out, so it makes it really easy to brush it on. All right, I've gone and washed my hands. So go ahead and make sure that you thread your bolts in quite a ways before you start putting a wrench or a ratchet on it. It's real easy to get carried away on these and think that it's started and strip it out. So I try and get it in at least 2 or 3 turns to start it hand tight, just with my hand, and then inspect it with a mirror, make sure it looks square to it. So that one's real easy to see. You can see the bolts going in square. That one back there, a little tougher to see. So get your mirror and shove it back there if you need to at different angles and try and see if it looks like it's square. Another little trick is to grab the parts that you're putting together. So I grabbed the exhaust here and moved it with one hand and then spun this back bolt with the other, and I was able to get it like almost 2 more turns in. So make sure the threads are fully engaged, because the last thing you want to do is get one of these cross-threaded back here. It's already hard to get to. Just imagine having to try and re-tap that hole. It's just not going to happen. You're going to be fighting it for a while. So just a little tip there. So C5A on exhaust stuff. I always use it on exhaust stuff. It becomes your best friend after you used it a little bit. This is gonna smoke a little bit when I do start it up because that stuff's gonna burn off the moisture in it, but the copper will be left behind. So, all right, so I've got the top two on and tight. I'm gonna come back and snug them a little more, but I've got to get the bottom two on now. So I'm gonna go ahead and coat the threads a little bit on those studs and the nuts and put the nuts on and snug those up. As I said, a little bit goes a long way here. See if I can zoom in for you. And keep my hand out of the way. That's gonna be the other trick. So I'm just gonna lightly put a little on there. And that back one's harder to see, but I can see it. You probably can't. So I like to normally get on the back side of the stud too if I can. In this case, I'm not gonna be able to, but I don't know how much of that you could actually see, so I may have to crop some of that out. But that's on there, and then I'm just gonna take this tool. What I usually do for these is stick the brushes through the center to coat the threads inside of here, and then I'm just taking my other hand and spinning the nut, and it'll coat the inside of that real good. All right, believe it or not, those two are on their hand tight. I've got to go ahead and work that top one all the way on. I wanted to show you, but make sure you thread stuff on hand tight as far as you can get it. One, it saves you time trying to mess with a ratchet, and two, all I'm doing is taking my finger and run it along here. Two, it'll keep you from cross-threading stuff. So now I've got this crap on my hands. Make sure you keep a rag with you. Wipe it up as fast as you can because the stuff spreads like everywhere. So we're gonna go ahead and snug those up. Press on. There we go. That's much better. I still got to double check the top bolts, but yeah, those bottom ones are in there tight. And then put the O2 sensor in, and we're rocking and rolling. All right, so I've double checked the bolts on the downpipe are tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in the O2 sensor. So let me know what your practice is. I still put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. Don't go crazy. You don't want to get it all over your sensor or anything like that, but just the threads, just a tiny dab is what I still use. I've heard some people, some conflicting opinions or ideas on that now. Let me know what you guys do. So anyway, so this guy is just gonna go down inside of there, and I'm gonna hand thread it in. Oh, these are always fun because they got the cord attached to them, so you don't really want to. These wires get brittle, and you want to make sure that you wrap this thing around and around, and not twist these wires tons. Whoops, sorry. Not twist these wires tons, because they do get brittle. They get hot back here. So, okay, now I'm gonna go grab my socket. Got my socket here, so go ahead and I've gone ahead and hand tightened it as much as I can. These don't need to be crazy tight. Just get it good and snug. Basically take it until it stops and then go about a quarter turn. You should be good to go. So I didn't show disconnecting these connectors. Sometimes they can be a bit of a pain. I've mentioned in other videos, what you want to do is when you disconnect them, push them together first and then push the little tab. So this one, I'm just gonna push it. This one didn't make a click, but I'm double checking it and making sure that it won't pop out. So I've got to find another clip because it had another clip up here. I'll find one in a salvage yard at some point. And do that. All right, next thing. We Got that tight. I'm just gonna take a mirror, poke it down there and make sure it's in there good. All right. Looks good. All right. That's done. Next thing I need to put back together is just this intake duct. Really easy. I gotta make sure I get I went ahead and stuffed a red rag down in the inlet duct. In fact, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead, I got the Borescope out. I'm gonna go ahead and Borescope my inlet duct. Borescope the inlet vanes on the turbo. All right. So, some of you know I was previously an aircraft mechanic. So, borescoping is pretty norm inside of aircraft engines because you can't have them fail. So, bad things happen when you're going 500 miles an hour and things fail. So, turbines always had periodic borescope inspections. And that's kind of what I'm doing here with this. Is I don't want this turbine to get beat up, get chewed up, and fall apart, and end up fodding out my engine, destroying my engine. So what I'm gonna look for on the turbine is any evidence of chipping on those leading edges right there. So that's a leading edge of the blade. You can kind of see tiny bit, a little tiny chip right there. It's right there by my finger. That's nothing crazy to be alarmed of. I'm looking for anything really big. Try and move this around. I wish I had a expensive borescopes have an articulating head that you can move it around real easy. This is a cheapie. But this thing looks pretty darn good overall. Take the borescope out. And I'm just gonna kind of take the end and kind of bend it a little bit differently than it was. Put it back in, and I'm going down the duct here where this duct connects. So, camera back. So I'm not seeing any chipping on these at all. Wish I could get to those back ones. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. Looks like a little bit of blue paint on the on that blade back there. Looks like a newer turbo. So that looks like the blow-off valve up at the top there. Hopefully I got all that on video. I've recently changed that on this, so I'm not worried about that turbo at this point. It looks good, so I'm gonna proceed with putting this duct back on. That's the duct I was borescoping down. That goes down to the leading edge or the inlet of the turbo, the leading edge vanes. Now we're ready to put this intake tube on. So it's just got a couple things. You got this little tube that connects to it right here. Of course, this side goes down inside where we were borescoping. So, and then there's a bolt. I think it's a little shorty. It's a little 10mm bolt. So you just take this and push it down. Go ahead and connect this real quick. Take this and push it down on there. I've already got this clamp left on the duct, intentionally so I wouldn't lose it. Oh, beautiful. The clamp, I guess it ran the clamp out all the way because the clamp is no longer connected. There we go. All right. Then on the other end, I love these hose clamp pliers. They're just awesome. You can take them. Just hold them out. I don't even have to compress it. They just make life easy. Just take the duct, and then to release them, all I do is hit this little button here, and it pops off. And I got it all cattywampus. There we go. That looks better. Okay. Oh, I got it on the back side. You got to make sure that it's on the front side or the aft side, so towards the rear side of this tab, because the threads are on this bracket, so it wouldn't thread in. All right, and then we're gonna take this little bolt. We're not putting any anti-seize or anything like that on this stuff. This stuff doesn't typically seize up on you. Kind of a pain to get it started. You got to kind of just move it around until it falls in place. And I just hand threaded it in all the way. And this is going on plastic, through plastic, so you really don't want to snug it all that much. All right. Just leave it a little snuggage. And then this little clamp, you can use a socket. I don't know what size it is, but I'm just using a, I have to just hold the camera. Okay. All right. So we got the hose connected down there. That's connected. That's tight. That's tight. And the bolt holding the brackets tight. Ooh. I still got to go down there, down below. I just about fell off the car. Got to go down below and tighten up a couple bolts on the bracket, the exhaust bracket. All right. So we're back down below. The last thing I got to do is run these all the way back in. Now I wanted to make sure the manifold further up there was tight and pressed up against, or the downpipe was pressed up against the manifold. So I left these loose intentionally so that stuff all had the ability to move. Then I'm tightening this. If I'd have tightened this, then it would have taken the flex pipe and kind of turned it and tried to shove that end up there over, and it would have taken the flex pipe and always had a flex in it, and that'll make your flex pipe fail sooner. So what you really want to do is make sure the stuff is at a relaxed state before you go bolting down your exhaust support brackets. So that's kind of why I did it the way I did it. So those are good. We should be good to fire this thing up. I'm gonna have to order. Like I said, I got this on order. I'll get a new heat shield for that. It's called a prop shaft. So that's the drive shaft to the rear. This is all-wheel drive. So I'll get a new prop shaft heat shield here. It's on order. I'll put another video up of installing that. So let's see what she sounds like. All right, let's see what she sounds like. Fire it up. right. Oh, I forget. This is a fancy car. My wife's got the fancy car. All right. Push button start. All right, so now we're gonna go down below and we're gonna check for exhaust leaks where we hook that all up. So I have to hold you kind of at an angle here, but I'm running my hand underneath and around it, checking for any sign of leaks. It's getting warm, but now remember, all that stuff's gonna smoke a bit when it gets good and hot. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off here in a second. I don't hear any exhaust leaks. Put my hand around the cat. Big thing would be around the flex pipe, because we just moved the flex pipe. I don't feel any leaks around the flex pipe. Oh, that's why I gotta change this bracket. Or that heat shield. It whines and makes a terrible noise. It's just at the right spot. I'll get a new heat shield. It'll be fine. Take a look at the top side. Make sure there's no leaks up here. This will be fun to get your hand down in there with all this other stuff. Getting real hot in there already. Go ahead and shut her off. Everything sounds good. There's no leaks. All right. I'd say that's a success. Got oil all over this. The turbos on this thing they do have some oil blow by. It's just part of being a turbocharged car. But I'd say this thing is good to go. No exhaust leak now. We're gonna take it out for a test drive and make sure it doesn't under some heavy boost, but it shouldn't if it's not leaking now. So I'm gonna clean up, take it for a test drive. All right, we're gonna go ahead and push it real good. Well, it's definitely pulling a lot harder. Before it wasn't pulling the way it is now. So no exhaust leaks. Couldn't hear any hissing anymore. So that's good to go. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe.